Well, welcome to this session of the School of Christian Mysticism, and we're continuing with our series of conversations about some of the metaphors and analogies and concepts that each of the three of us use, and we realize that we don't always necessarily mean the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, so this is a way of exploring and discussing some of the concepts that are particularly used by each one of us. And the one we're going to explore today is the notion of vibrations, a word that Tim uses quite often
Hmm.
in various ways. And we can explore what that actually means to him and what it means to us and develop that idea. So perhaps you might make a start, Tim, on when you talk about vibrations. What's in your mind? What's the concept?
Thank you, Malcolm. Um, yeah, I do use that word quite a lot. And I think part of what I need to say is that all words are metaphors. So everything we say is a metaphor. No word is the thing that it refers to. It just points the way to the meaning or to the object of the uh, attempt to convey something. Um, and so vibration is a step beyond the word, perhaps, in a way. I think I relate it to the beginning of John's Gospel and to the beginning of Genesis. And the beginning of John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And a long time ago, when I was studying theology, um, the Hebrew language was fascinating to me. And I noticed that, as in another ancient language like Welsh, for example, um, a word contains much more than uh, a modern English or any other language translation where you choose a particular word to translate a word from a more ancient language. So davar has the connotation word, but it also has vibration. So in the beginning was the vibration, and the vibration was God. The vibration was with God. And then in Hebrew, the beginning of Genesis, Bereshit bara Elohim haaretz v'hashamayim, is usually translated in the beginning. God created the earth and the heavens. But actually in Hebrew it has a tenseless feel to it. In beginning or in beginningness, God is creating. So for me, vibration is something that originates with God, originates with creation. Creation originates with vibration, and it's ongoing, it never stops. I'm a musician, and so vibration is easily accessible for me. Um, but music, for me, just joins the vibration. It's one way in which we harmonize with the ongoing, eternal vibration of existence. And so when I use the word vibration, I'm often calling myself and perhaps those that I'm sharing the notion of vibration with back to source, back to beginning, back to absolute reality, to our true self. Yeah, so I've also read, thanks to Joe, something by Hazarati Niyat Khan about abstract sound. A sound, think from my understanding of what he writes, that is also a way of describing this eternal vibration that he, another musician, encountered, though not, it can't be heard. It can't be heard with the ears. And this is something I've gone into quite a lot since reading that and realizing that I hear this with my soul too. I don't know. I could go. It's getting beyond words for me now already. So I'll stop there now.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thought that this is spiritual hearing, that you can hear the conscious of the vibrations through spiritual hearing. Makes me think of the choirs of angels, which must be referring to the same thing, really. It's not being a musician myself. It's not something that I've really got very deeply involved in. So it's fascinating to hear your take on it. And
the choirs of angels. It's that gives me a memory that when I was a child, and I think maybe I've been searching for this ever since, with all the instruments I play and singing and everything else, and listening to the wind and to the birds. But I remember waking up one morning, must have been about 8 years old, something like that, and I realized I was being awakened from a heavenly sound, like a choir of angels, something that I'd never heard before or since, in its beauty, in its absolute beauty. And I wanted, as soon as I woke up, I wanted to hear it again, but it was elusive. I couldn't conjure it back. It was just like the most, I don't know, harmonious experience of my life, I suppose. And I think I've probably been trying to tune back into that somehow, but it can't be done. No, I can't make the sound. I can't. Similarly, when you listen to the sound of birds and you think, oh, if I could just do that with a flute, but it's impossible. It's just, there's so much more to the sounds that the birds are making than I feel can be broken down into even like flickers of notes. It just can't be done. But I think, yeah, Malcolm, I think it must be the choirs of angels that we hear in the Hebrew Bible referred to, and in Revelation. I think maybe that whoever's writing about that is writing about that one vibration. Yeah.
Yes, well, Malcolm, when you mentioned this subject of vibration, I felt even about it. It's not a word which I which moves me. But a lot of my spiritual practice is to do with moving from an outer vibration into that inner vibration when I think about it. Um, and this is the use of words, um, uh, a meaningful word like davar itself, I suppose, Tim, um, or any of these primary vibrations, any of these different vibrations. Um, I suppose it's part of my everyday life to sit and practice what would be called in some um, traditions mantra, um, uh, and both in Aramaic and Arabic form and English form. Um, and the movement, I think we would all be familiar with, of that movement from the outer sound to the inner singular vibration. I think uh, we would all be familiar with that. I think. Don't you? That isn't that part of our, even in the Lectio Divina, when we move from outer sounds deeper and deeper in, and are left, in the silence at the end, where everything falls away. Um, uh, isn't that back to the beginning in that sense, or what do you think, Tim? In your case, do you feel that there is a similarity there? I'm not a musician at all, so I
Yeah,
don't have that experience to compare with.
I and yet I'm not sure that it matters to be a musician or not to be a musician when we there's something about music that seems to be universal that uh, connects people to something that is not really possible, I don't think, to put words to. Um, I mean, the word harmony, I suppose, is quite helpful. We we find a vibration. I'll use the word vibration on which we are in harmony, and so to take the sounds from what I think you're talking about with the Lectio Divina is that so we hear scripture or a piece of writing. We tend to listen to it. We might just read it. I wonder, in the process of reading, whether we hear a sound anyway, whether it's our own voice or another voice. I don't know. And then that outer sound is coming inside. Are you saying that it's coming inside, and then we might harmonize with that as we then speak something out, or as we use a mantra, we create a sound which comes out again. So you've got the inner and the outer harmonizing. Are you talking about that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I speak in looking through a glass darkly or listening through a
Yeah.
glass darkly on all of this. Um, my sense is that the Lectio practice, for us, is going deeper and deeper, and the deeper it goes, the more it moves, I think, towards that
Mm,
singular vibration,
mm,
the choir of angels sort of thing.
yeah.
Um, we've tried to find expression to that. If we have that experience, when we come back to the sharing at the end,
Yeah.
we try to put it back into words. Um, um, and maybe it is that that sometimes Lectio Divina only goes as far as the mind,
Mm.
so we don't have that sense of vibration. But Malcolm, your practice is, if I understand rightly, is reading a passage and going into silence. That's that's a, uh, a, a rather crude way to describe it, I think. Um, but uh, would you think that perhaps as you go in your practice deeper and deeper, that that you may not be connoting it, if that's the right word, as vibration, because that's perhaps a particular language. But I mean, as I ask you, I'm asking myself.
Mm.
Do you think that that is actually your experience by another name?
I think it probably is, because what's occurring to me is that when we try to express the contemplative state, the deeply contemplative state, we do use musical terms, don't we? We talk about being in harmony with the cosmos. We talk about being in tune.
Yes, we do, don't we?
We use musical terms to describe it, even though or I'm not hearing or perceiving or spiritually perceiving anything. Or or probably I am, but I don't. It's not. It's not registering as a perception in the normal sense. But
Mm,
yeah, we use musical analogies um,
mm,
to describe the contemplative experience.
Yes, that is so interesting, isn't
Mm.
it? I'd not really thought about that before, not in that way. I wonder if there's other musical terms which are used. Harmony, being in tune, attunement.
Probably we might talk about notes. I don't know, but one way of looking at it perhaps might be the vibration that we can create, whether we're musicians or not. If we breathe in deeply and then on the out breath hum within the body. The body vibrates, and for me there's a really calming effect, a healing going on then, and then into silence. So as a way of entering into deeper contemplation or meditation, using a vibration that is visceral, which is we create it, but letting it go into the absolute vibration or the abstract sound that Hazrat Khan was writing about, which we hear then spiritually, but not with our senses. And it's something that everyone can easily do, just breathing in. Repeating that a few times, the body becomes very susceptible, I think, to
Mm, very
the
warm.
cosmic vibration.
Lovely.
The Om Oh,
Well, I think
it's what
that's
you
the same thing,
what you
isn't it?
just did, really. Yeah,
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 Mm.
yeah, that's got a kind of oh, so it
yeah,
leads into a deeper and
yeah.
longer one. Yeah, so I think, do Hindus think that's the perfect sound or something?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah, the Who,
the Who.
the Who equivalent, I think, in
Mm.
Arabic. I think.
Maybe you should just explain the Who,
Oh gosh, you asked
just
me
for the.
to explain. Yes, well, it is, as I understand it, the primary sound. Um, I think Sufis would say, because there is the idea that um, that um, God created the world with a breath of compassion. And God was a hidden treasure and longed to be known, so he created the world. And the idea is that he or she created the world with a breath of compassion. And I think that's a kind of picture, perhaps, of that primary uh, breath of the beginningness.
Mm.
Um, and uh, I, I read somewhere many years ago that sound is recordable in outer space, but I'm not sure if that is the same thing. But
Mm.
I seem to remember reading that idea.
So it's an
So
out breath, is it?
yes, and um, well, there is the idea of spirit, isn't there? And the expression of the divine. Um, and the sound or the vibration from which every other vibration comes, and how the world is made up of different vibrations, just as each of us is a different vibration, so is everything else.
Yeah.
Um, that's how we're made out of sound before sight, as it were.
Mm.
Uh,
yeah. I think there's something very important here, and we see it, as I think you've said earlier, Joe, through a glass darkly at the moment. But
mm,
I'm reminded of um, William Blake when he was on his deathbed and his wife was with him. He suddenly became ecstatic, and she said, what's going on?" And he said, "I can hear the choir of angels."
Ah.
mm,
Hmm.
mm,
So it's perhaps something that we're all headed for.
mm. Yeah,
So I will hear it again.
he will hear it again.
Yeah.
But it's not stopped.
It can't stop, can it? Because it's the foundation. Mm.
Mm.
Well, I'm
Mm.
happy with that as an explanation for vibration.
Mm.
Oh, oh.
Shall we leave it here?
Yeah, I
Yes, I
think
think we better leave it.
we've reached the end of our allotted time. Obviously, it could go
Yeah.
on much longer and much more, even more deeply. But I think we should perhaps call it a day now.
Maybe we'll return to these themes again.
Mm.
Mm.